Elon Musk entered a renowned university's calculus class. There were many enthusiastic students in the room, but none of them anticipated what was going to happen. Dr. Thompson, the liberal calculus professor, had other ideas, but Elon was there as a guest to see. Dr. Thompson has a reputation for having strong beliefs and disliked millionaires such as Elon Musk. People like Elon, in his opinion, were simply fortunate to be born into affluence and didn't deserve their achievements. Dr. Thompson saw Elon right away as he sat down in the back. Attempting to blend in with the kids, the professor's features broke into a grin. He regarded this as the ideal chance to demonstrate to the world that, when it comes to actual understanding, particularly in a subject as complicated as calculus, renowned billionaire Elon Musk was simply an average person. The professor walked up to the board, his eyes sparkling with mischievous intentness. "Today, class," he started, "we're going to tackle some really difficult calculus problems. And why don't we check to see if our special guest, who is predicted to be a genius, can manage it?" Quote. There was silence in the room. Everyone looked at Elon. The fact that the lecturer was criticizing someone as significant as Musk astounded the students. The room was filled with whispers. While some students were anxious about Elon, others were eager to see how this would all work out. But Elon didn't lose his cool. He only nodded and grinned, showing that he was game for the challenge. However, the pupils secretly wondered if Elon Musk was indeed a math whiz or if he was going to be humiliated in front of the class. On the board, Dr. Thompson began writing a number of challenging calculus equations. These were not your typical math problems. Only the most proficient pupils could figure them out. The professor smiled mischievously as he turned to Elon. "Would you like to test it, Mr. Musk?" Making fun of the billionaire's intelligence, he inquired. One could feel the tension in the room. In anticipation of Elon's reaction, everyone waited. Was he going to surprise everyone or would he concede defeat? Slowly, Elon Musk rose and walked to the front of the room. His every action was observed by the students. Even while he appeared composed, they couldn't help but wonder if he was actually nervous. Dr. Thompson, sure that Elon would trip over the issue, gave him a bit of chalk. For a time, Elon gazed at the board, examining the problem before him. Even for an experienced mathematician, it was a difficult one. In an attempt to demonstrate that Elon was incapable of handling serious academic work, Dr. Thompson had specifically selected this equation. Elon appeared unfazed by the professor's cross of his arms, which indicated that he was prepared to watch him struggle. He looked at the issue for only a few seconds before he began writing. Elon worked through the equation steps with ease, and the chalk moved quickly across the board. The pupils were amazed. They had anticipated that Elon would at least falter or make a mistake. But he handled the matter with ease. Even Dr. Thompson appeared surprised. But he covered it up very away. "Well, that was just the first one," the professor responded, attempting to remain calm. "See if you can manage the next one." He scribbled a new, even more complex equation and erased the old one. Elon picked up the chalk once more and started working through the equation without hesitation. There was no sound in the room. In an attempt to comprehend what was going on, the pupils leaned forward in their chairs. Was Elon Musk truly resolving these challenging issues on his own? What if the man they all considered a mere businessman turned out to be a math whiz? The professor was becoming irritated. Even though his plan to make Elon look bad wasn't working out the way he had hoped, he wasn't prepared to give up just yet. Dr. Thompson's patience was beginning to wear thin. What he was witnessing was beyond his comprehension. The millionaire businessman Elon Musk was resolving every issue with remarkable precision and quickness. This was not intended to occur. Elon appeared to be the one bringing everyone together, even though the professor had set up these issues to make him appear foolish. Dr. Thompson made the decision to step it up. Even the most intelligent pupils in the room would have needed a great deal of work to answer the equation he wrote down since it was so complicated. He was aware that without years of effort and a thorough understanding of calculus, this problem would be practically difficult to answer. When the kids saw the issue, they gasped. They looked at each other anxiously, wondering if Elon would be stumped at last. However, Elon merely nodded, seemingly acknowledging challenge's acceptance. He picked up the chalk once more and started working through the instructions. However, it took longer this time than it did with the earlier issues. Elon hesitated many times. considering his next course of action. The room became more tense. Everyone was watching impatiently to see if he could figure out this insurmountable dilemma. Elon kept working as the minutes went by. You could hear a pin drop in the room's extreme silence. As he watched, Dr. Thompson's annoyance gave way to incredulity. Is Elon Musk indeed the answer to this issue? Would the professor's scheme to make fun of him in front of the class backfire? After what seemed like an age, Elon finally moved away from the board. He had completed the calculation. The pupils were in disbelief. One of the most difficult math problems they had ever encountered had the right solution right in front of them. Dr. Thompson couldn't speak. He was forced to acknowledge that Elon Musk was not just a business whiz but also a math whiz. However, how is this possible? Incredulous, Dr. Thompson stood still. His well-thought-out strategy had blown up in his face. In order to demonstrate that millionaires like Elon Musk didn't merit their notoriety and wealth, he had set out to degrade him. However, the opposite had occurred. In front of the entire class, Elon had just effortlessly completed one of the trickiest calculus problems. The pupils whispered to one another and looked at each other. They were shocked by what they had just seen. They all knew Elon Musk for his brilliant business sense and cutting-edge innovations. But he was also a math whiz. Some even started to wonder if Dr. Thompson had been underestimating Musk from the beginning. But Elon maintained his modesty. As if solving the problem hadn't been significant. He just handed the professor back the chalk and sat down. However, the pupils were unable to let it go. An inquisitive young woman among them held up her hand. "Mister, how do you know all this? Musk, you're neither a mathematician nor a professor. After all, how did you become so proficient in calculus?" Quote, Elon sat back in his chair and grinned. He stated plainly, "I studied it when I was younger. I've always valued math, particularly in the fields of physics and engineering. Math is essential if you want to comprehend how the world functions, how to construct things, and how to innovate." The pupils were enthralled. After hearing it from Elon Musk, they began to see math as a tool that could lead to creativity and invention. Something they had never considered. Some of them started to view calculus as a means of solving the universe's riddles rather than as a dry topic. Dr. Thompson attempted to recover control of the situation while still in shock. "Well, Mr. Musk," he remarked in a frustrated tone, "that's impressive. However, teaching is more than just problem solving. Understanding is more important to education than simply learning mathematics." Elon agreed with the lecturer and nodded. "You're correct, but inquiry is the first step toward understanding. You'll figure things out if you're curious enough. The desire to understand how things operate is more important than memorization." Once more, there was silence in the classroom. But this time it was different. The students had stopped watching a tournament. They were hearing from someone who had accomplished amazing things in life, someone who was giving them a new outlook on education. But Dr. Thompson was not yet prepared to concede defeat. After clearing his throat, he resumed writing another difficult equation on the board. With a tone full of irony, he said, "Let's see if you can explain this one, Mr. Musk." In addition to solving the difficulty, the lecturer hoped Elon would find it difficult to describe it to the class. Elon couldn't possibly dissect it the way a qualified teacher could. Or at least that's what Dr. Thompson thought. Elon got back up and made his way back to the board. At this point, the pupils were completely focused and excited to see what would happen next. This time, Elon took his time answering the equation. Rather, he faced the class and began outlining the fundamental ideas underlying the issue. Elon started by saying that calculus is fundamentally about change. It concerns the motion, growth, and shrinkage of objects. You can use that for practically anything if you can comprehend it. Calculus provides you with a means to model and forecast those changes. Whether you're making electric cars, engineering rockets, or simply attempting to solve difficulties in daily life. The pupils were listening intently to everything he said. Calculus is a complicated subject. But Elon's straightforward presentation made it seem attainable. He spoke in a way that was understandable to everyone, without resorting to fancy jargon or complex vocabulary. Meanwhile, Dr. Thompson began to perspire. Although he had anticipated that Elon would struggle with lecturing, Elon was not only resolving the issues but also engaging and enlightening the class. Musk appeared to be teaching the class a lesson they would never forget. Despite the professor's attempts to make fun of him, Elon showed the kids how calculus could be used to technology, space exploration, and even daily life as he continued to illustrate the equation by drawing parallels to real-world situations. The pupils were captivated. This was a new way for them to think about math. The room was a hive of activity by the time Elon was done. The pupils felt motivated. They came to see that learning was about comprehending the world around them. Not just about passing tests or receiving good grades. But Dr. Thompson was still having a hard time accepting what had transpired. He had attempted to portray Elon Musk as a phony. But instead he had shown that Elon was smarter than everyone had thought. It was clear that Dr. Thompson was shaken. His scheme had blown up in his face. In addition to solving the impossible problems, Elon Musk's explanations enthralled the entire class. He had been totally underestimated by the lecturer. Elon now had the support of the entire class. Pupils wanted to know more from someone who had accomplished so much in both science and business. So they started asking him questions. Uncertain of what to do next, Dr. Thompson stood in the front of the room. He wasn't sure how to regain control after his authority was questioned. The lecturer inhaled deeply before continuing. "Mr. Musk," he said in a softer tone than before, "I must say that I wasn't prepared for this. I assumed that you were only a businessman who was fortunate to have money. However, I was obviously mistaken." Elon grinned but remained silent. He didn't have to. The truth was previously known by the class. "I can see now that you understand math on a deep level." Dr. Thompson went on. "In addition to resolving these issues, you have demonstrated the practical use of mathematics. I could have miscalculated you." There was silence for a while. The students witnessed the developing respect between Dr. Thompson and Elon Musk. But they were also stunned to see their professor own his mistake. At last, Elon said something. "It's all right, Professor," he said politely. "I understand. Many individuals believe that math and business are incompatible. However, I found that they are related in ways that most people are unaware of." Everyone had gained some useful knowledge by the end of the lesson. The children had witnessed personally that Elon Musk was more than simply a successful businessman. He was a bright thinker who recognized the value of education in mathematics. Despite his earlier attempts to make a point, Dr. Thompson had grown to appreciate Elon's intelligence and modesty. He came to see that even someone with Elon's level of achievement may have a strong enthusiasm for teaching and learning. Students gathered around Elon as the lesson came to a close, asking him further questions about his life, career, and views on education. Dr. Thompson observed from a distance while considering what had happened that day. Although he had begun the day with the goal of making Elon Musk look bad, he ended up learning the most. That day, Elon Musk walked out of the classroom as a teacher who had influenced a new generation of thinkers. Not as a billionaire. The kids would never forget the lesson they had learned. True genius comes from a sincere desire to comprehend the world and impart that knowledge to others. Not from wealth or power. Regarding Dr. Thompson, he would never again undervalue somebody, regardless of their level of fame or riches. He was humbled by the experience and discovered that people are always more complex than they first appear. Dr. Thompson stood at the back of the room, lost in concentration, while the students pressed closer and closer to Elon, asking him questions about his life. He had never expected the way the entire class had changed. He had entered the meeting that morning with the goal of demonstrating that Elon Musk was not suited for an academic environment, even with his wealth and notoriety. But now that he was standing there and saw Musk interact with the pupils, he understood how mistaken he had been. The professor's judgment was impaired by his pride. He had believed that the intellectual rigor needed in university could not coexist with corporate success. However, Elon had demonstrated to him and everyone else in the room that the two could live together. They were actually entangled. Elon's enthusiasm for education was clear as he addressed the students. He was motivating them in addition to providing them with answers to their queries. He discussed his early academic difficulties and how he had always been an outsider who was interested in how things operated. He explained to them that his passion for science and math was more than simply a means of creating electric vehicles or rockets. It was a style of thinking, a method of problem solving, and a means of expanding the realm of the imaginable. A shy student put up her hand. "Mister, do you believe someone like me, who struggles with arithmetic, could ever do something like what you do, Musk?" she questioned. Quote, Elon gave her a kind grin. He answered, "Absolutely, without hesitation. Math isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about persistence. It's about curiosity. If you're willing to put in the time and ask the right questions, you can learn anything. Don't let anyone, including yourself, tell you what you're not capable of." As the pupils took in what he had to say, the room fell silent. They had anticipated that Elon Musk, the tech tycoon and billionaire, would be aloof, perhaps even conceited. However, the man in front of them was friendly, modest, and willing to impart his wisdom. Dr. Thompson regretted something. For a large portion of his professional life, he had evaluated people according to their academic standing and suitability for his concept of intelligence. However, along came Elon Musk, who didn't fall into any of those categories but was accomplishing goals that the majority of academics could only imagine. Still giddy with anticipation, the kids started to flow out of the classroom. Others remained in the hopes of speaking with Elon one last time before he departed. After a brief moment of hesitation, Dr. Thompson approached Musk. "Mr. Musk," he said in a quiet, almost uncertain voice, "I owe you an apology." Elon gave him a startled glance. "For what?" "For underestimating you," acknowledged Dr. Thompson. "I thought you were just another businessman who made it big. I didn't realize the depth of your knowledge or your passion for learning. I've been teaching for decades. But today, I think I've learned more from you than I've taught in a long time." Elon's face became softer. "No need to apologize, Professor. We all have something to learn from each other. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. And I'll keep making more. But what's important is that we keep learning. Keep growing." A burden was lifted off Dr. Thompson's shoulders as he nodded. Now he understood that his first assessment of Elon had been based on his own fears. He had devoted so much of his time to establishing his authority as a professor that he had lost sight of education's actual goal, which is to inspire, transform, and push the limits of what people believe is possible. As a mutual respect grew between them, Elon held out his hand and Dr. Thompson shook it. "I'm grateful that you taught me that there's always more to learn," the professor remarked softly. Elon turned back to Dr. Thompson with a final reflection as he packed his belongings and was ready to go. "Remember, Professor," he replied, "the best teachers aren't the ones who have all the answers. They're the ones who know how to ask the right questions." Elon Musk left a group of kids whose viewpoints had been permanently altered as he left the classroom. Dr. Thompson pondered the day's events while standing in the front of the deserted room. In the end, Elon Musk had given him the most important lesson of all, even though he had begun the day attempting to make a point. The class focused on humility rather than arithmetic, calculus, or even business. It was about being open to learning from others, regardless of their backgrounds or identities, and being willing to own up to your mistakes. Dr. Thompson knew he would never forget what he had learned that day as he shut out the lights and walked out of the classroom. It was a lesson on the real meaning of intelligence, curiosity, and progress that transcended textbooks and equations. And when the classroom doors closed behind him in that silent moment, Dr. Thompson came to the realization that he had just gone through one of the most significant experiences of his teaching career. He was thankful that the fields of academics, business, and education had come together in unexpected ways, because often the most unexpected locations may teach us the most important lessons.